As many of you have seen the earlier videos, I took regular bottle glass from beer and wine bottles and tried to make my own scene glass with a little tumbler that cost me 89 bucks on Amazon. And if you don't want the timer, you can get the same tumbler for as low as 50 or 60. So it's a cute little tumbler. And so this is what the glass looked like beforehand, and this is what it looked like after 7 days of tumbling. You actually don't need to go 7. I pulled it out after 4 and it looked almost the same. But after 7, the edges were even more rounded. And so anyway, this is fun. You can do this at home. The problem is, well, not the problem, but now I wanted to expand it. I wanted to get all kinds of crazy cool colors besides these more common beer and wine colors. And so I went to the dollar store and I got a whole bunch of these cool colored vases. Unfortunately, they were only coated color. They're actually clear glass with this coating, and the coating rubs right off immediately in the tumbler. So how do you know the difference? Well, one is these labels kind of hide it in a tricky way, but a lot of coated glasses will not be coated on the very bottom because most people don't look to the bottom and you can't tell unless you turn it totally upside down and look. But this one, I'm not sure if the camera will show you, but if you look the right way, see, it turns clear suddenly. And then that's when you realize, see, green. When you're looking straight through it from the bottom, it's clear. So, and another way you can tell, if you can't tell from the bottom, is get something sharp. You could use like your car keys or something, but not too sharp, but just something a little abrasive in metal. And obviously don't do this in the store, but if you want to risk, you know, paying the $1 and then testing it out, if you scrape it, you'll start, now any glass can get scraped, but if you scrape the coated glass, you'll start to see, and this one, it might be harder to see it on the camera, but you'll start to see a clear glass underneath, and you'll see that the coating rubs right off, almost like shredded thin plastic. It's almost like a plastic coating. So can you see that, how that's clear now? In any case, so dollar stores are not always the best, but sometimes you get lucky. But old thrift stores that have really old stuff, they usually have the good stuff. So I actually found a thrift store that was open, and so I had this blue. We're hoping all of these are real glass. I tested them as best I could. I scraped them. See this? It doesn't even scratch. I'm using the same pressure and the same force, and it doesn't even hurt the glass. Obviously, I could scratch it hard if I push, but I don't even like feel anything. So that's a good sign. And so I got this one. I got more of this green, which is similar to the beer bottle, but this is nice and thick. And the thicker glass is another good thing that you get, because the wine and beer bottle stuff, it's cool, but it ends up with these very thin pieces. And sometimes when you try to get a really big piece like this, 2/3 of my pieces ended up breaking into smaller pieces in the tumbler just because they were too thin, which is fine because some of them survived, but thicker glass is better. So anyway, this is much thicker. And then I got this really cool purple one. And then I got these also really cool red candle holders. Now, these are already frosted. One of the two of the cool things about sea glass, one, the edges get worn completely round and smooth, so nothing will get scratched. The other cool thing is that the glass gets frosted by, you know, all the abrasiveness of the sand. And so for those, again, repeating myself, what happens is sea glass is made because broken bottles and broken stuff, sometimes over hundreds or even thousands of years, gets kicked around in the ocean waves and the sand, and that sand and the water combined, kicking it around and around and around, wears it down, smooths it out, and frosts the surface, and gives, sometimes when you find sea glass in the ocean, you find really cool frosting, like little bubbly thing formations and stuff. But we're gonna try to speed up what the ocean does in decades or hundreds of years. We're gonna try to speed that up and do it in a few days. Because instead of waiting for each wave to come in and grab the glass and move it a little bit, and move it a little bit more, like, you know, maybe a minute later, move it a little more, half a second later. The tumbler is just constantly moving and constantly giving it the most aggressive treatment. So let's have some fun. Let's break these guys up. Cool. Now we can further cut out some of the rough, sharp edges with these nippers made for glass and ceramic cutting. Now, always wear protection. I tried to wear gloves through most of this, and I definitely had goggles on, and some of these shards of glass shot right at my face when I was hitting with the hammer, so absolutely be careful with that. And make sure you sweep up afterwards your area. I tried keeping it in the box, but the cardboard box kept cushioning it, and the vases wouldn't break because they needed something hard underneath them for the full effect. So next time I'll have to just construct a concrete box just for the occasion. In any case, I'm gonna cut off some of these little sharp edges and shape these a little bit more before putting them in. And just when I was loving this wonderful red, I come to find out that it's just coated. So it's no good unless I just want clear glass in this particular size and shape. Nah, I could use some more clear glass, and it's actually nice and thick, so I'll use it anyway, but we're gonna lose that really pretty red. Oh well. Okay, here's the basic setup. This is the drum that I used once before. Here's the motor. And we don't want to fill this more than, they say, like a half to 2/3, but we're going to do a little less than a half to be safe. Because sometimes they also say to weigh it, and I don't have my scale ready, so I'm just going to do a little less to be sure. I took out the red pieces because I don't want to overweigh it, and the red are just going to turn clear, and I already have enough clear. So let's put these guys in. That's already filled up to slightly more than 1/3. Let's add our water. Just enough to cover, pretty much almost cover what we have in there. That's close to half. Dump a little bit out. Actually, you're supposed to put the water in last, so. Now they give you 4 different grits to work with. And of course you can always buy your own grit and stuff. They're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. But the idea is, and it's funny because a lot of people put in the comments, you don't understand why they give you 1 through 4. The idea is you put in grit 1, which is most coarse if you're going to tumble stones, and that gets off a lot of the rough edges. And you do that for like a week and a half normally with stones. Then you put in grit 2, which is a little bit less coarse, and then you do that for a week or so. And you put in grit 3 and grit 4, and grit 4 is like, they get finer and finer until grit 3 is even like dust. So grit 4 is like super, super thin particle dust, and it's called polish. I'm only doing this in one shot because we're doing glass, we're not doing stones, and we don't want to polish them to shiny perfection. They're already shiny. We want to give them the sea glass effect. So what I did last time was I put a little bit of grit 1 and a little bit of grit 3 because I'm just trying to mimic what you find in the ocean, which is a whole bunch of different stuff at the same time. So please, people, don't tell me, but that makes no sense. So we're going to do that again. We're going to put a little bit of grit 1. I used about 1/3 of the bag last time, so I'll use about another 1/3. This stuff is nice and sparkly. It looks like what would be on sandpaper, basically. Then we're going to put, again, a little bit of grit 3. And this stuff is like, it's just like so fine. It's crazy. It's just, I mean, if you sneeze, it would just go everywhere. And once it mixes with water, it turns into this disgusting foam that just gets everywhere, and you can't wash it off. It takes like 10 times to get rid of it all. But that's fine. Put a little bit more of that. And then, again, to mimic the ocean, we're going to put some actual sand we got at the dollar store. But wait, it gets better. We're actually going to put these big, giant, coarse pebbles. Now ignore that they're turquoise, because that turquoise rubs right off. That's just like a coating. But I wanted to find them in earth tones, and this is just all they had. But wait, it gets better. We're going to actually throw in some seashells. Got these from the dollar store too. But last time I broke up the seashells with a hammer. And then this guy who does tumbling said, you should just throw them in and see how they tumble. See if they get smooth too. So let's throw some of them in. And we'll break up a few too, just for good measure. But wait, it gets better. To really mimic the ocean, we're going to put in some genuine sea salt. So we decided to go to the aquarium and get some fish to really give the real-life ocean experience. And we'll just put them in there Okay. These new ones they make are not that loud, so you can pretty much put it anywhere in your house, but they do make some noise. So what I do is I have these soundproof foam tiles, and I just build them up around it and make a little box and then cover it up. And then I shut the door of this room. And even then, if you put your ear up to the door, it sounds like it's raining outside. But other than that, it's not like really loud. So, you know, you can make a garage, maybe, I mean, make a box, maybe put it in your garage or something. But in any case. And this has 3 speeds. I put it on the highest speed, and I put the timer for 7 days. So in 7 days, I'll do a reveal video and show you guys how the sea glass came out, and how the fish are doing too. See you guys soon.